This week we hear one of the most stirring commands in all of the Torah. Kedoshim tihiyu. You shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. It is a breathtaking sentence. It is the simplest of charges to be holy. Kedoshim tihiyu. It sounds like something meant for angels, for saints, for superhuman people who never lose their patience in traffic. Kedoshim tihiyu. Maybe this should be my mantra as I cross over the American Legion Bridge. But to have this week's Parsha set out the simplest yet seemingly hardest goal of being holy is important for us to explore. Torah does not give the command to angels, it gives it to us. Specifically, Kol Adat B'nai Yisrael, the entire congregation of Israel receives this command. Chizkuni, the 13th century commentator, teaches, this verse teaches that this law was revealed to the whole people while they were all assembled together. What is the reason for this, Chizkuni asks? Because so many laws are contained in it which address the people in their daily lives. Kedoshim tihiyu, to be holy, is directed at ordinary people and extraordinary people, people who are carrying grudges and people who are just carrying laundry, given to people arguing over leadership and to people wandering through dust and uncertainty. In other words, it is given to human beings who are trying to build a society. Kedoshim tihiyu, you shall be holy, for I, the Lord your God, am holy. One of the things that makes this command so powerful is that holiness in Judaism is not otherworldly. Holiness is in our daily lives, within our communities, and within our grasp. Holiness is nurtured and lived within our spheres of influence. The Parsha instructs us that holiness is made in markets with honest weights, in fields where grain is left for the poor, in courts where justice matters, in neighborhoods where people are treated with dignity. It is made in another famous command in the Parsha, love your neighbor as yourself. Parshat Achrei Mot Kedoshim offers us the Torah's blueprint for striving to build a sacred society rooted in justice and compassion and moral courage. As Chizkuni teaches, being holy is something for our real lives, even in the daily struggles we have at work, at school, and as we walk through the world. In many ways, being holy is a North Star which all other mitzvot direct us towards. Holiness remains our goal even when we fall or fail. And it remains our goal when we achieve it, seeing the holiness in another person. It is a lofty quest to ask yourself, by this act, am I increasing or diminishing the holiness of this moment? Often throughout the day, the answers will probably be mixed, but our goal is to continue to strive towards Kedoshim tihiyu, being holy, even with all of the complexities and contradictions and even competing values life forces us to hold simultaneously. It's so wonderful. This week was Israel's 78th birthday. Last Wednesday was Yom Ha'atzmaut, Israeli Independence Day. And the hallways were filled with so many kids, blue and white. And last week, this room was filled with Zimriah, the energy of celebration. And in many ways, we are people caught between the ideals of holiness and the much harsher realities of the world. There is the Israel of our vision, holy, just, compassionate, secure. and the Israel of lived reality, security walls, political fractures, grief and fear and trauma, and the heavy moral weight of power. That narrow space between the dream and reality is where Israel lives. It is where many Jews live emotionally as well. Imagine for a moment a state, Israel, or here, is built entirely on the laws of Kedoshim. A place where workers are paid fairly and on time, where judges cannot be bribed, where the vulnerable are protected, where gossip is restrained, where grudges are not nurtured. These are the laws of Kedoshim Tihiyu, of Achremot Kedoshim, where the stranger is not merely tolerated, but embraced. As another verse says, the stranger who resides with you shall be to you as one of your own citizens, and you shall love him as yourself. That is radical Torah, not only for its time, but for any time. And when Israel declared in 1948 and wrote in its Declaration of Independence a promise of complete equity of social and political rights to all of its inhabitants, irrespective of religion, race, or sex, it was not abandoning Jewish tradition. It was, in many ways, translating Kedoshim into the language of statehood. Israel was never meant to be only a shelter, only a refuge. As Max Nordau, an early Zionist thinker and leader alongside Theodor Herzl, said, Israel is not a night asylum for a persecuted people. It is so much more. Yes, it had to be safe. It had to be sovereign. But it was also meant to be something more, a Kiddush Hashem, a sanctification of God's name through the building of a just society in history, not perfect, but aspiring, not angelic, but accountable. Realities crash into dreams. Since its birth, Israel has faced existential threats. War came in 1948, and then again and again and again. Terror and rockets, kidnappings, hatred, delegitimization, enemies near and far, right up until and including today. So how does a nation commanded to love the stranger respond when the stranger sometimes arrives with violence? How does a society committed to holiness defend itself in a world where some celebrate brutality? And how does one build holiness when the threats of violence are external as well as internal? These are not theoretical questions. These are lived realities. They are questions of a parent rushing children to a shelter. They are questions of a medic treating the wounded. They are the questions of an Israeli soldier forced into split-second decisions no parent would ever wish upon their child. And then there are the fractures within. Torah commands, you shall not hate your kinsman in your heart, also from this parsha. Yet Israel today, like many democracies, knows deep internal division. Religious and secular, left and right, center and periphery, Jew and Arab, visions of identity colliding with visions of governance. The argument itself is not the problem. Jews have been arguing since Sinai and even before. The danger comes when argument becomes contempt, when disagreement becomes dehumanization, when brothers and sisters forget that they are family. So what do we do with the gap between holy vision and broken reality? First is not to be afraid of seeing reality. As Israel is fighting external threats, it also is pulling itself apart from within, allowing settler violence, passing laws to expand settlements, advancing death penalty legislation crafted to be used too liberally and too narrowly, glorifying a soldier who desecrated non-Jewish iconography. As difficult as it is, we cannot hide from our own collective acts, which diminish holiness. Our tradition offers a profound image of navigating this. The rabbis teach that in the Ark of the Covenant, we carried the holy tablets which Moses brought down from Sinai. But in the Ark were both the whole tablets and the shattered fragments of the first set. The broken tablets which Moses smashed in anger and disappointment when he saw the Israelites dancing around the golden calf. The ark contained the broken shards and the whole tablets. They traveled together. What a remarkable truth. Judaism did not hide the broken pieces. It did not pretend failure never happened. It did not say only perfection belongs in sacred places. It carried both. And perhaps that is one way to understand our relationship with Israel today. Israel is an ark carrying both the whole tablets and the broken shards. The whole tablets, courage, resilience, creativity, democracy under strain but standing, humanitarian and technological innovations, the revival of Hebrew, ingathering of exiles, astonishing acts of generosity and moral aspiration, and the broken shards of trauma and mistakes and failures and compromises and injustice and grief and fear and anger and the scars of endless conflict. To love Israel honestly is to see both. To deny the broken shards is propaganda. To deny the whole tablets is blindness. There are two temptations many Jews face: utopianism and cynicism. We demand that Israel be flawless immediately. We expect a nation under siege to embody messianic perfection. And when it falls short, as every nation does, as every human institution does, we abandon it in disappointment. We become critics incapable of loving what is real because it's not ideal. Or cynicism. We say the world is too dangerous and therefore morality is naive. We say survival is all that matters. We say holiness is for sermons, not for policy. And then we risk becoming a nation like all other nations, forgetting the very purpose of Jewish sovereignty. A utopianism forgets reality, and cynicism forgets Torah. Judaism asks we balance the narrow spaces in between. Kedoshim Tihiyu is not a status we achieve once and for all. It is not a trophy handed out at the end of history. It's a verb. It is striving. It is exhausting moral labor. It is bringing fragments of wholeness into a fractured world. So what is our task? Not blind praise, nor easy condemnation. Not a fantasy, nor despair. Our task is covenantal love. A love honest enough to see the shards. A love faithful enough to keep carrying the ark. A love hopeful enough to keep reaching for the whole tablets. So this Shabbat we hear again, Kedoshim Tihiyu, not when the world is calm is there the call for being holy. Not when politics are easy, not when everyone agrees. Now, here, in a trembling world. May God give Israel and us strength. May God give her and us wisdom. May God give Israel and us courage to reject both cynicism and fantasy. And may we never stop believing that holiness can still be built in the messiness of the moment. Ken Yehi Ratzon. Shabbat Shalom.